Welcome back to You Are the Medicine, episode 2 podcast hosted by myself, Jordan, my dear friend
Logan.
And we're out here in beautiful South Florida on a beautiful day. Chemtrail still spraying the skies, but we'll get to that maybe a little bit later. No, we had an eventful weekend, huh?
Absolutely.
Man,
hell of a time.
Heck of a time. And we first Luminate event held at the BVR down here in South Florida, and such a cool experience to build this event and hold space for others in the community to come in. And Logan right next to me as I'm playing the didgeridoo, and it was just a fun day.
Oh, so much fun. It was so much fun. I mean, we have a little bit of the logistical things take place before the event, but then once we, Zenvita kicked off and cacao started, it really just kind of took off from there.
Man,
I mean, everyone just settled in. It was incredible.
And shout out to all, Pay, Dr. Juice, Everest Wellness, Zenvita, Shamanic Tonic, everyone who helped play a part in this beautiful day that we had on Saturday. Let's talk about the event a little bit. We started at around 9, really at 8:30. Everybody got there pretty early, which is really cool. I think everybody checked in pretty early, and we was actually able to start a little earlier, around 8:30, and which I thought was, just flowing with it. That's what Rich said. Shout out to Rich.
Shout out Rich.
Rich,
you're out there, Rich. Yeah. Shout you out.
Yes, Rich, you are awesome, man. And we're excited to continue to connect with Rich throughout these events that we continue to hold. Because again, this is such a vision of mine to be able to continue to try to bring the community together. Like-minded people that want to become better versions of themselves, want to learn, want to grow, want to evolve, want to adapt. And essentially that's what Luminate is. We're all in this together, and we're all learning together. Sharing together, and it was really cool when you look back at Saturday and all the conversations that were had, all the people that were there, and then we had some reflection time afterwards to get to know some of the people that are in our community now. Some people that we've seen before, and some that we've never seen. And I know you got a really cool chance to have some conversations with some people, and
yeah, I mean, really cool conversations. I felt that probably the biggest takeaway from the weekend was how important reflection time was. Really, post yoga, the cacao kind of really being activated. It's really crucial and really important to take the time for yourself after your process, and we wanted to open it up and talk to people about our experiences and learn about theirs and find out why everyone's here today. And I mean, we had people fly in from Tennessee, people drive 3 hours north or 3 hours south to come, and you're having these conversations and what's motivating them to be there. And then it just inspired me in a sense where, it feels like we're doing something, just a day where I really felt like everyone truly connected. No one was there trying to take off and go get busy doing something else they didn't want to do. Right. Everyone was present. Everyone was sharing, learning about each other, and just created such a really, really cool environment.
And I find that so interesting that a group of people that don't know each other can come together in a short amount of time and connect on such a deep level that you feel now connected to these people really forever.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? There's going to be, I'll look back.
Where are we going?
Right? Where are we going? Right. Yeah. That's what I find extremely fascinating. During the yoga, man. I mean, during the meditation, as I was walking around playing the didgeridoo, I saw a young lady crying, and I spent some time around her, sending her good energy, sending her good vibes through the sounds of the didgeridoo, and she came up afterwards, which I thought was just so cool to have this conversation with her, and she just talked about how, she didn't know that she needed to come Saturday, but she needed it, and she didn't know why. But she, something had told her, hey, Friday night actually told her, hey, just go. She'd never been into that space before, never knew anything about what we were doing. Obviously, people, and that's another thing, right? Like, it's really like connecting with your body, like yoga even, right? Like, or meditation. It's like, okay, hey, yeah, go connect with your body, or go meditate, and, you'll feel better, or you'll think better, whatever it may be. But it's like, there's a deeper level to it, of the understanding of, connecting to your body. And, that's what, a lot of, plant medicine really, like, not even like the deep psychedelics, like, the cacao that we took, the opening of the heart, it's not a psychedelic plant, it's a medicine that opens up the heart and really connects you to yourself, and allows you to go a little deeper when you're in yoga or in meditation, to really, calm the mind and focus on the things that you need to focus on. And, I find, like you said, those conversations after in that reflection time of, how people really felt in those moments, and that's what's real. And that's why when I felt, it was like, I never felt something real until I got into this space, right? Like, it was like, I never, like, I was searching for it. It was like, okay, people talk about, these, this magical stuff that happened in their life, this, whether it be God-like things happening in their life, and, that had never happened for me. And I never really understood what that meant, really, until really understanding, myself, right? And really getting into the space and learning that there are levels to it, and learning about those levels, and how to go deeper, and how to connect with yourself through these practices, through yoga, meditation. But I always give the analogy, like, okay, the old man gets up every morning for 30 years and goes and walks on the beach, and it makes him feel great. It makes him feel good. That's why he does it. But, like, does he know why it makes him feel good? Does he know the reasoning behind, us being connected to nature, and, the sand, and grounding, being able to regenerate your body, and heal your body in a sense, and that was some of the stuff that I struggled with, just learning about, because I didn't know. And again, I thought it was really cool to have those conversations. Did you have any of those cool conversations?
I mean, yeah, I went pretty deep into the ones that that feeling happened to me, where my entire life I walked around not paying attention to, like, any of the signs in life. And then, we go down, we sit with the medicine, and then come back, and you start paying attention to all these little signs. And so, I mean, I told the story about, my dad lost my father a couple years ago, battled cancer, bummer. And really my entire life, I had kind of chased his approval. And so I was really, like, telling this story. And to me, he was always like this big wise owl. Like, anytime I ever, like, I had a really bad day in my life, or really needed final clarification on a decision in my life, I'd go to him, and he'd point me in the right direction. I'd feel good about it. And so, like, that would be, my uplifting feeling. And he disappears from my life, and it's one of those things where you ask yourself the question, like, I've asked questions my entire life, and then you ask yourself the question, like, who am I going to call on those days that he's not here? And so, and, like, talk to. And so that was something that really just got into my own head about. And then back to kind of learning about these little signs. So then I started to go pay attention, and then I remember the feeling of those moments on those really, really hard days where my dad would say the exact right thing at the right time that I needed in that moment, and it would just pick me up out of like whatever rut I was in. And so when those moments arise now, I'm always outside of my house, and there's this owl, and this owl just hoots. I'll like wake up at 2 a.m. for no reason to let my dogs out, and there's this owl that's hooting at me. And call it a sign, call it nothing. If it's something to me, then it Absolutely. Has to be something. Like, Absolutely. And you know, it's always the exact same time where he would pick me up previously in my life when I needed him. Now it's just I'm more aware of my surroundings and where he is, and like, you know, I believe he's floating around me. I do. And so that's the sign I need to know that, hey, he's there watching me. There's somebody over me that's always guiding me and watching me. You know, we don't go through this alone. And so, you know, I told that story just because it's the one that is so obvious to me, where I'm like, I'm the only one who hears this owl ever when, like, in the time that I need the most obvious sign in front of my face. And my little hologram just starts feeding me these little signs to just either bring me back out of it or make me feel like I'm doing the right thing or going the right direction, and just continue to be like, all right, put in the work. It's all going to be worth it. Like, look at how crazy this is. You're believing an owl is your dad. Like, anything's possible.
Anything is possible. I mean, you can go as deep as you want. Your truth is your truth, right? Like, that's what I like. Who's to say who's right and who's wrong? That's what I always like. You know, I always struggled with was, you know, growing up, going to church, and you know, it was like, how am I different than the guy in East Asia, you know, growing up and having his beliefs? And, you know, who's to say I'm going to heaven and he isn't, just because I believe in X and he believes in Y? And I mean, that really just, I struggled with that question for a long time. And, you know, going back to your point with the owl, it's like that's your truth, right? Like, nobody else is going to tell you like anything else. Like, and they shouldn't be able to, right? Like, and that's part of learning about you and learning about in this space, right? And it's like, you know, we were talking about earlier the aliens, but it's like, we're not going to go into that. But it's like, okay, we live in this world and we think this is all there is, right? And we think, like, you know, the world is happening to me, instead, you know, of having the perspective that the world's happening for me, and being able to, I don't know, bro, like, if that owl is hooting and that's your dad calling, bro, like, that's your pops, bro, like, that's him. And it's like, you start to learn that we're not in this by ourselves, right? The signs have been all around us the whole time, and we just haven't learned how to pay attention to them. You know, call it God, call it the divine, call it source. You know, he's guiding us, and he's been guiding us, you know, our whole lives. You know, and we just have forgotten how, you know, as spirits and as a physical being, you know, how to listen, how to pay attention to them. And you know, that's one of the things that plant medicine has taught me. And, you know, speaking of, we had some really cool conversations at the event on Saturday, of people asking about ayahuasca and asking about, what it's like, and asking about the dieta, and asking about if you're gonna throw up, and asking about the process. And I find it so encouraging, and so encouraging is the right word, because the people are starting to ask these questions, right? Who am I? What am I? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? And starting to, especially the Western world, starting to wake up a little bit, in a sense. And things are happening in the world that we're finally starting to pay attention to and ask the hard questions. And some of the answers that we're finding are not as nice as the answers that we would have hoped. And and that's where I started finding some of those answers, and started to try to wonder, like, what can I do to change what's happening? And man, it's like the only answer I found was to understand yourself. So if I understood myself, then I know how to move throughout the world. If I understood myself and understood that there's an energy around me all the time, and if I move my energy in the right direction, that God's always moving me in the right direction. I just have to follow your intuition, follow your signs. And I was so encouraged that a lot of people were asking about plant medicine, right? Because essentially, like, the world's waking up, dude. Like, people are starting to be curious, and be open. And
well, yeah, and that was like another big, I call it a theme of my conversations, was like the fear around plant medicine, and like there's this connotation attached to plant medicine, but it's one of those things where it's not that scary. It is, but it isn't all at the same time, and that didn't mean that in a, try to. It's a really difficult path to go, in my opinion. And those conversations were just hard to have with people, because it's not something that is easy to explain to somebody. I don't know. I got asked the question also about, like, hey, how's it feel? How do I answer that?
Yeah. It's not something that you really can put into words. And I think when you say, like fear to get into it, because, right, like, I think about my first time accepting the idea that I was going to do plant medicine, knowing what I was about to get into after all of the research that I had done, and understanding that it was going to change me, and understanding that it was going to be uncomfortable, and understanding that there was going to be a process that was going to have to be from A all the way to Z, and each letter I was going to have to sit, open the book, read all the way through till the end. And, like, knowing that was, it was fearful, yes, but, like, it's like, okay, we're in a world where people are comfortable in their own little world, and, like, don't want to step out of that box because of that comfortability. Yeah. Because once you step out of that box, things change, and then what happens when things change? You become you don't know how to handle change, right? Like, there might be something might happen, and you think about it. Okay, you're in your routine of the day. You go to work, go. Betty gets your papers. You got to do all these papers. Get your coffee at lunch, whatever. You come home, boom. Go to work, boom, boom. Same thing over and over and over again. All of a sudden, one day, you catch a flat tire. You don't know what to do, because every day you catch this flat tire. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna be late for work. Now I'm not gonna have no papers. Now I'm gonna do this. Now I'm gonna do that. And so, like, it's like people are in such a routine with their lives that there's comfortability in that routine, whether it be stress, whether there is stress in that routine, whether there is uncomfortable in that routine. There's going to be some laughs, there's going to be some cries, whatever that is. They're comfortable in that routine, which is fine. Not everybody is ready to step out of that space of comfortability. But like, there is another level to you. And I'm not saying you have to do that through plant medicine, but plant medicine helps you get there faster. Psychedelics in a sense is like, call it 10 years of therapy in a week's long.
I'd say 40.
40 years of therapy in a week's long retreat, right? Think about that. 40 years of therapy. What I had read was legit. What I had read was 10 years. A lot of people say 10, but I agree. 40, right? Like, I mean, seeing my mom from day one to the end of the week, and then seeing her today, like, bro, like, I mean, it's unbelievable, the power of this medicine. And I'm not only seeing it through ayahuasca, I've seen it through yopo, I've seen it through combo. I mean, like, I've seen it obviously through mushrooms. Like, that's how my brother started, like, with mushrooms. That's how I got him on his ayahuasca journey, was just, teaching him about the power of plants. And it started off little. They're teachers. They're plant teachers. And what do they say? The mushrooms are the grandchildren. Ayahuasca's grandmother, peyote's the grandfather. I mean, these ancient practices have been around for centuries, and Western culture is finally starting to catch on. And once we realize our own power, that's what they don't want. They don't want us to have. They don't want us to understand we're one. They don't want us to understand collectively we're stronger together, right? Because then there'd be no more control. They wouldn't have no more separation of politics, of Democrat, Republican, of black and white, of race, of religions, right? Like, because we are all one. God, I don't believe God has a religion. It's necessarily, in a sense, like, yes, believe in what you want to believe, but like, at the end of the day, all of those beliefs are going to the same thing, because God is one, right? He didn't make us individually. And once we and that was one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, because I had to go through some things to realize that my hate towards my dad, like, I had this resentment towards my dad that under my first ceremony I had to sit with, and it was very uncomfortable, in the weirdest of reasons, right? And me not realizing that hate towards him was negative energy that I was giving off to others, and that I was putting out into the world. And it was all in that process, me realizing that we're all connected to each other, that we're all one, no matter what it is that you want to believe in. That's fine, but at the end of the day, I am you and you are me, and we're all connected to the same one. And that was call it what you want. It is a step in your life that will make you a better version of yourself, with understanding and clarity of who you are and where you want to go and why you're here. And and I think that it, what do they say? What's the phrase? Ayahuasca is not for everyone, but
ayahuasca is for everybody.
Yeah. Ayahuasca is for everybody, but everybody's not for ayahuasca. Yeah. So it is a choice, and only that you can make. And it's a again, when I stepped into the space, I was scared to death. I had the conversation about how
you have to be prepared that who you are today, you will sure as heck not be tomorrow if this is something you want to do. And that's like good and bad. You have to have a point of view of that, like, please, whatever it takes to feel better tomorrow, I need that feeling. Then maybe this is something to look into. But if that feeling isn't genuine, or I guess that feeling isn't a calling, then this is something that you should take pretty seriously.
And I think, like, no matter how, it look like if it's your calling, you're gonna know. But at the end of the day, like every day, like you shouldn't be who you were yesterday, like because every day is a new day to become essentially a better version of yourself. How do you do that? I mean, knowledge helps. Knowledge helps in the sense of understanding you, and that knowledge comes from practice and being able to sit with yourself I've seen you meditate for for hours, like, and being able to come back and be grounded and learn about, and again, like psychedelics just help you like get from point A to point B a lot quicker. Like monks, think about the idea of a monk that gives up all his external beliefs and external valuables and goes out into the mountains and meditates for 10 years. And so
I get what you're saying.
No,
like,
but I want to give the explanation of like what ayahuasca does and what it's releasing in your body, because we all have dimethyltryptamine in our body, and you are able to access that through intense breath work and through intense meditation and through intense, whether it be temescal, whether it be a cold bath, whether it be, like I said, breath work. And so these monks go and do these specific practices to reach this level of enlightenment through all those modalities. And now what ayahuasca does, it helps you get from point A to point B and releasing that DMT of stuff that you already have in your body, but giving you a lot more. And being able, now you're in this sense of, call it knowing, of just, and again, like a lot of people are like, oh, you think you know everything. No, it's, I to be honest, I don't know, I don't know nothing about nothing, to be honest. But at the end of the day, I do know and feel that there is a presence around us all the time, and my energy is being transferred from person to person to person to person. My thoughts are being transferred through my cells, through my bones, to shape me into being the person that I am. And all of that, everything that I'm eating, everything that I'm drinking, everything that I'm listening to, everything that I'm reading, right? All of that matters. And that's where I feel like the power comes from, right? And again, I'm not perfect, and I'm still. Yeah. It's practice, right? It's practice, and but once you continue, it's in continuous growth, learning, and but once I had to feel that first before I could do anything else. I had to feel that, and that's what that trip helped.
Good. I mean, good little segue right into dieta and how that made us feel. Do you want to give your side of the story?
I lost a lot of weight for the dieta. It's part of it though, because the dieta is call it the diet before you go on your retreat, and it's a pretty strict meal plan of chicken and fish and just straight greens for about 2 weeks before the retreat.
Couple other pretty specific things on there.
Yeah, there's we can name them. You can no violent imagery for 2 weeks out. Yeah. No sex 2 weeks out, which I thought was interesting.
No ripe bananas. Overly ripe
bananas. I mean, there was a couple other specific ingredients on there that, no red meat, no shellfish, no. Yeah. There's certain specific food, but like and I think the dieta is more obviously to prepare your mind and before going into the space, right? Because it's not just, you're not just to say, hey, I'm going to do ayahuasca. Hey, let's go. And then we're going to go out there and we're going to drink the medicine. You're going to be like, oh, that was cool. Like, and come back all enlightened. No, like there's a process to the whole thing. And if you don't respect the process, and if you don't Yeah, I think respect is the right word. Respect the process.
You get out of it what you put into it.
Absolutely.
Like,
that's great. I mean,
yeah, because I've gotten questions around like dieta when everyone was going down this year, and I was trying to tell them without telling them that, like, just that the more you put in the dieta, the better the more you're going to be like, thank God I just took care of my body prior to this.
Because it's a lot of energy when you're
like it's all linked.
Yeah, and when you're putting that right stuff in your body, and when you're mentally clear about the stuff that you're putting in your body, that transfers. Like I said, the energy transfers over into, because once you sip that brew, there is no going back. And once that shaman gives you the cup and you bless it real quick and it goes down your mouth, you better go sit down and get in your meditation stance and just say, Mother Aya, just teach me what you need to teach me.
Show me what you need to show me.
I'll see you on the other side, and it's going to be rough. You're going to go through it. Some mistakes you made in your past, some people you hurt, some, trauma that's still sitting with you. But all that is, think about it, like all that is energy, all that negative trauma, all that negative is just stuck in your body. You think it's not, but it is. Subconsciously, it's stuck in you. And now you're transferring that energy everywhere you go, throughout the day. Say you got heartbroken as a 14-year-old, and now as that 14-year-old, you get heartbroken, and now every relationship that you go on about your life, because you're still heartbroken about that 14-year-old girl that left you for the high school quarterback, and now you just, every girl that you meet now, you have this fear of, if I give her everything that I have, if I give her all of me, she's gonna break my heart like that 14-year-old. Well, that's because you haven't accepted that 14-year-old self of you, and love that 14-year-old self of you, and understand that's part of your journey. Like, look, that's part of your journey. Like, it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. And when you, I know that's easier said than done, but at the same time, like, that's how the game is played. Like, that's how, life is. And, life is happening for us, not to us. And a lot of us want to make excuses for the reasons why we're in XYZ position in our life. And, that's easy to make excuses. It's easy to say I'm here because so-and-so put me here. I'm here because so-and-so won't, let me have, won't raise me or whatever. It's easy to make excuses, but we take ownership in our own life and our own thoughts and our own, way about moving. It makes,
well, even now, like, I feel like even right now, I should take ownership from my previous excuses. Like, having this realization didn't come easy, where it was like, I used to be the excuse guy, where I'd go around and, you would talk about it and not be about it. And then next thing you know, you're just talking yourself in a circle about something you have no idea why you're even doing it. And so what that really is at the end of the day is just one big excuse for, I don't know, your loop, basically. And so now having, like, the understanding of that, like, hey, I am in control of everything, whether you like it or not. But that should be empowering, that, all right, when I feel this strong urge or this strong desire to launch excuses at something because it's easier, why don't I just take 5 more seconds and think about the right way through it, not the easy way through it, because the easy way through it is just throwing you back basically to the bottom of the stairs, metaphorically speaking. But, like, that's kind of, I feel like, what we're talking about is life gives you these opportunities to expand and better yourself, and they constantly, like, go across your face, and because you're head down or you're distracted, you just continue to watch them go by you, and there'll be something over to, it's like the angel and the devil on your shoulder. If you listen to that devil on your shoulder and he's like, hey, it's just easier to just do what you've been doing, it's fine, and you'll be like, yeah, you're right, I'll just go with you, instead of that little voice that's like, hey, I know it's going to suck, but if we just, you know, do this one thing, then I promise what's on the other side of that is what you're looking for. And like being able to tune into that voice and make it the louder one instead of letting this your own little personal devil in your head run your life because of what someone tells you or what someone wants you to do. You just don't care what the devil has to say, basically.
Absolutely. I think we can sit here and talk about ayahuasca for hours, maybe days, actually, in this space. I think we're gonna save some of our conversations for next time. I think we have some people we want to thank.
What do you got?
Our next event, November 11th.
Yes.
Out here in South Florida. Event details will be on our website, Luminate.
Yes, sir.
.me.
Join our wait list. Stay up to date with notifications.
Please, yes. Yep. And we will continue to have these podcasts. And Costa Rica, we are going to be hosting, Luminate is going to be hosting 2 retreats, 3 actually. But we're going to have a community retreat. Those dates, let me pull them up real quick since we are live on the air. So, Lo, go ahead and fill some time.
Well, yeah, just to fill some time here, if you could please drop any comments or questions in any and all of our posts. It'll make this podcast easier for us, help us fill time, and it really speak directly to things that, you know, we've directly experienced ourselves. So, anything that you're curious about or want to know about getting into this space or what's a good entry or, anything. We're just 2 guys hanging out trying to make sense of what we see on a daily basis, quite frankly.
Where the heck we are in this world.
Yeah.
Where we fit in. Follow our Instagram, luminate.mbs. Yes. And follow our Twitter, luminate_mbs.
Sure.
Ooh, I got that right. Man, it's a couple of dudes here trying to just learn about life and figure it out just along with the rest of us. And, we love doing these. We love making these events. Don't forget to sign up for our event November 11th. It'll be awesome. We have some special guests for you. 11/11. What a date. What a date. Who picked that? Good job, Logue. Great date. In the meantime, we'll see you on the next episode of You Are the Medicine. And I can't wait to talk to you guys some more.
Peace.
Peace.